Let's see how you do under pressure. Oh, yeah. I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey. Yeah. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early, feeling rich like I'm Kesha. I get to the paper, boy. Extra, extra. Fuck with me, you know that I got it. Come with me, let's take a trip to the islands. We up on the jet, we'll do more than just fly on it. Stand on that hill, you gon' die on it. Boom, boom. Baby, I'm not one of them, you should try on it. Miss me with all that, I'm on to the next. Fuck this up, I send you back to your ex. But good luck with that, this is big as it gets. Hey, let's see how you do under pressure. Let's see how you do under pressure. Give them a name to remember. Hey, let's see how you do under pressure. Let's see how you do under pressure. A moment can live on forever. Yeah. Oh shit, they don't let me shoot a whole clip. Firepower in this coalition. We just turned the field into a demolition. It was desolate.
Welcome to the eCarrierCheck show, folks. We're excited. It's Friday. I'd love to hear how your week's gone, what's going on, what's been good, what's been bad, man. Nate, obviously, I've heard and seen your week go gloriously. Tell me about it, man. How's your week been?
Yeah, it's been great, man. First off, thanks to everyone here today. T. Landy, T. Harris, what's up, man? Hope you guys are having a good week. It's been a lovely week, man. We had so much sales talk this week. It's not funny.
Yeah.
But it's lovely. I love it. I love sales. Everyone needs some sales talk.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to grow their business.
Yeah.
You know, we're just helping people just reach their goals.
Yeah, I the one thing that's been kind of unique this week is that, we've really helped people understand how important it is to find leads through our carrier database.
Mm-hmm.
Our carrier database will point you down the friggin' yellow brick road. You know what I mean? This is Wizard of Oz shit. I'm telling you. It is. It's Friday and we're just sucking up tornadoes, bro. It is what it is. So, but honestly, I would say that probably two of my favorite conversations this week. Number one was we talked to a broker and helped a broker diversify one of his clients.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you about this guy. He only has 2 clients, right? He's moving 6 to 8 shipments a week.
Okay.
He just started, you know what I mean? Just cutting his teeth, just getting started. And we met the other day, and he was having a hard time finding a carrier that would go down to Florida for the rate that he had. I get it. Trucking's not. It's not. You're not profitable all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There's some break even stuff going on, right? And you got to be competitive, right? You got to be out there and be competitive. And he's just cutting his teeth. And so we were showing him some carriers that are coming out of Florida that are going up to where his shipper's at. And honestly, I'd have to talk to him again today, but he had multiple conversations with some carriers that were interested in that lane at the rate he had, so that he could make a little bit of money. But what was probably the most interesting part of this conversation, and this is what I love the show today on our side, is he went back to that customer instead of just with a, hey, the load's delivered, everything's good. He went back to the customer and said, hey, I'm exploring doing some other modes. He was very transparent about things. And he said, I think I can help you with some bulk. And the guy goes, oh, I love that. He goes, I have nobody that can help me with these tankers, right? And so he called in eCarrierCheck, 1-800-eCarrierCheck. I don't even know what our phone number is, but he called in and he was like, hey, I need some help finding these guys. And no kidding, next week he moves his first load. And so now he went from, doing those typical 6 to 8 loads a week with his couple of carriers. Now he's going to get 2 more loads a week with his tankers.
That's fantastic. Totally.
And he's making $500 rip skis on top of it.
I love rip skis. We all love rip skis.
So,
right?
I mean, this cat just diversified within his own client.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. If
That's
you were
huge.
not doing that today, honestly, you've got to not only, and here's how you diversify. Let me give you a couple tips. Number one is find another mode within that shipper, right? And that mode can be vans, it could be LTL, it could be flatbeds, it could be oversized, right? But it also could be a flip into who's buying it, right? So hear me out. Maybe the diversification is, hey, I just started getting inbound and it's actually from a different guy or gal, right? So if you're dealing with a company that's making anything, right, they're getting inbound raw material a lot of the times. Not every time.
Right.
Sometimes these cats are just coming in and, they get it made overseas or in Mexico or somewhere else, right? And then they just slap on their component and it goes out, right? But sometimes there's an opportunity to jump into another mix, into that diversification, right? So when you're talking to your shipper, man, I tell you what, take the time to ask that question. Hey, how else is your network set up when it comes to how your freight comes in, the material you use for when it comes in? Make sure you're asking better questions, because there's the key right there, right? So I apologize. I just went on a rant.
No, that's
but
huge.
I get excited to help people out where this cat didn't actually make a cold call to get a new business.
Right.
He just got new business within his business.
Well, and I tell you what, I don't know if that guy was newer to the industry, right? So
yeah, he's about a year now.
You're not going to think of asking what you just said right there.
No.
You know what I mean? So these are good tidbits that you're throwing out there.
Yeah.
With your background in freight brokering, obviously, I'm sure your first week you didn't know to ask these questions.
I was an idiot.
You had so many, let's say, you had so many ideas on how to gain expertise in industries. You called carriers.
Yeah.
You got to understand what it's like from their side of the view or their, side of the table. But I love how you do that, because you were able to formulate these questions that maybe not many people are thinking of. I tell you, I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
So I love that tip right there. That's huge.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that with the carrier side of things, because I would say that I got a majority of my doctorate degree from Carrier 101, right? These cats want to tell you, they want to tell you what their experiences are, what their friggin' deals are. So Chief Freight Hauler, what's up, brother? How's your week, man? How's it been going?
He seems the type of guy that you could call Chief Freight Hauler up and pick his brain about things, right?
This guy
There's
wants
some good
to grow.
carriers out there.
Yeah.
Really, a lot of good carriers out there that are willing to team up with you. You gotta ask the right questions. You gotta be willing to listen. And
got to diversify those questions.
Right. I love that. And that's why we're talking about today is how do we help you, at least give you some secrets or ideas on how eCarrierCheck can get you to that point. Because we're a powerful tool that can source you shipper leads with enriched and saved data. And then we can also help you find those carriers. You can almost use ECC without a load board if you really hammer that phone.
Yeah. If you're willing to cut your teeth,
yeah,
there's no reason why
you couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it.
Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, and you said this for years.
Yeah.
That sales is a numbers game. The more calls you make, the more emails you're making, the more outreach you do, the luckier you get. You're gonna find that good egg, a good shipper. And even Will Jenkins said, not every shipper is gonna be your right fit, but when you have all these unlimited leads here, unlimited searches, you're gonna find that right lead.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the interesting, for whatever reason, as a broker, as a carrier, honestly, I find it been a banger of a week. How so? Did anything win? Any wins? I wonder if it's been a win or a loss or just been kind of weird. I've been a banger of a week. It has been kind of a weird week. Like around here, even like the traffic flow in our city's weird. We've had some weird.
The sauna shut down, or the YMCA shut down the sauna.
Gosh, I don't even know what that. I'm a hot potato without it. I don't even know where I was going.
Anyway, let's talk shippers, man.
Do you think?
We just had this amazing call this morning. We talked shippers and sales, and this is more of what you guys need to listen to or look at today, is because what are you gonna do next week? Do you have a list already or a pipeline created for next week? We want to help you build your pipeline.
Yep.
And with Jared's expertise in freight brokering, 100 years ago, he's been through the hey, let's walk in, let's go shake some hands. But now we're at that time of, okay, you got to build your pipeline.
Yeah.
You got to bring some banger emails out. You got to make sure that next phone call is a banger.
Yeah.
Like you can't call in and say, hey, I got trucks in your area. You got to make yourself different. If you're not one to walk in and shake some hands, you have to make yourself different in some way.
Yeah.
But in order to build your pipeline, you need something like eCarrierCheck.
Yeah.
Because how do you know what you're getting into? If you're a broker that's just starting off, and let's say you're focusing on the three main types of equipment.
Right.
Flatbed, reefer, dry van.
Probably a good place to start.
It is. Well, how do you know if the shippers that are using that type of equipment if you didn't have eCarrierCheck?
Yeah.
Unless you drove by the facility and you looked at the trailers, but you wouldn't know unless you were on here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's real easy in the shipper. When you start brokering or when you start to, I always heard, well, I just need to get Walmart and I'd be set.
Right.
Or I've heard people, well, if I can just get Home Depot or Amazon, I'd be set. And I'm like, but would you?
Right.
And I think what's unique about sales and, finding shippers is the immediate judgment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but does anyone have that aunt out there that you judge her immediately on family functions? There's an immediate judgment.
I'm not gonna say she might be watching.
Yeah, that's fair. But there's these aunts out there where you're like, hey, what's she doing, right? You can do the same thing with you, not only your aunt, but shippers. And people either go, but they have their own trucks, or they show a truck on their website, and I'm not going to call them, right? And the old Ted Lasso, stay curious, don't judge, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important when you're building your pipeline, when you're going in going, I don't think they're a good fit. How do you know until you pick up the phone and have an exploratory conversation? How do you know until you pick up, you walk in their building? You send them an email, right? But at the same time, it's going to be a numbers game. We can't get caught up on, man, I just need Walmart. You might find your best client is some cat out of Nebraska that you didn't even know who he was 90 days ago, right? So don't be judgmental. Don't judge your aunt. Maybe we just need to understand why your aunt's crazy, right? And I'm talking about my aunt or Nate's aunt.
No, we're talking about my aunt.
Okay, but it's one of those things. Had a tanker endorsed van load and scrap metal load, both over 260, loading now to make my way to Cali. No kidding. How many miles are you going this? Are you going to Cali for like over the weekend? Like you'll just deliver Monday? Had a tanker endorsed van load. See, that's kind of interesting. So Cheap Freight Hauler is he must have his tanker endorsement. I like this guy. I'd like to actually talk with him, see what's clicking in his world.
We should just get in the truck with him right now.
I would love that. But I love that you're heading to Cali. Be safe. Yeah. And I love that you're doing a tanker endorsed load. Like if you're a driver, honestly, why not have all of these little endorsements? Right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. One of the brokers that I love to talk with is just this old school dude. But he loves this one carrier because he can haul every type of power only there is. He took the time to get every hitch there is. And you're like, well, isn't it just fifth wheels? Yeah, no, not at all. It's everything you can imagine, right? There's ball hitch, there's pedal hitch, there's all these crazy hitches out there. And this carrier took the time to go get all of those so they can do that. Cheap Freight Hauler, he didn't have to go get his tanker endorsement. He's just adding value, and probably adding a little bit more to his pocketbook. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He can demand more because he's a tanker endorsed guy. Right. Not everybody is.
Right. I love that. One thing too with eCarrierCheck, Jared, when you were finding your success as a broker back in the day, 100 years ago, what helped you formulate that first call? You know what I mean? You didn't have obviously eCarrierCheck back then. You didn't have their company insights like we do now.
Right.
I don't even know if they had LinkedIn back then. Did they have LinkedIn?
Stop it. Well, actually, that's funny you say that. No, they didn't.
Okay, so you know what I mean? So now we have this available at your hands, which I love.
Yeah.
Now you find your company. Let's go. I don't mean to put you down here.
That's okay. That's okay.
But, we have just lots of good info here, from company insights to contact info. Key contact is blurred out because, YouTube makes us do that. Locations. We have really a lot of good info here to help you formulate just a killer call.
Yeah. Back in the day, I'll tell you what we used to do before, and even what we still hear people doing, is you would utilize multiple sites to gain some of this information, right? Some of this information is exclusive to eCarrierCheck, right? You're not seeing that information anywhere else about them, right? We're a leads platform, sourcing platform, specifically directed in the logistics industry, right? Transportation industry, because we love trucking. And it just makes it unique because we have kind of a CRM-based function in here where you can set some tasks, you can, write some notes, kind of take care of things. I really should get cert for hazmat cert. Boy, I tell you what, take the time. I don't know. It'd be interesting to know what it costs, not only from the certificate, which is probably minimal, but the insurance, the additional insurance that you need. Boy, I would do it though. There is some cash to be made on hazmat. I would do it. Don't, Monday, you need to be looking it up. Or if you got some time, you got to get that done. It'd be so awesome. Then we change your name from Cheap Freight Hauler to Hazmat Freight Hauler and just start hauling haz everywhere.
We'll sleep on it.
Yeah, it's just sleep on. We'll get it better.
But yeah, going back to what you were mentioning when you didn't have this info, back then at your fingertips.
Yeah.
Especially when you're walking into places like, holy cow, like talk about going in blindfolded. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, with us knowing the equipment type, I think that's probably the most unique thing.
Yeah.
There's people that actually have algorithms that are like, well, it's a steel company, they do flatbeds. And with us, we actually know the equipment. Like with this particular shipper right here, we know that they used 18 vans. We know that they used 6 road trains, which theoretically, depending on where they're out of, can either be LTL or it can be, maxis up in the northwest, right? But we know that they're doing stretches, stretch RGNs, right? So it's a better lead just from that standpoint. When I used to walk into buildings, man, I tell you what, I could tell you, I couldn't tell you how many times I had people go, we don't ship anything.
You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, good.
Here's some donuts anyway.
Let's talk about your inbound then.
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
I try to get something out of them, but majority of the time it just got me out of the door is all.
Yeah.
But it's nice that you have the ability to come in here and say, all right, how do we find leads by equipment, by industry, by the region? That's what we do.
When you mentioned inbound, when a shipper were to say, hey, we don't ship, and you ask them that inbound question, are they open about giving you that information, or is it, maybe is that on a different conversation?
That's an interesting question. So the inbound convo used to be more dead than it is now. So the transportation industry has kind of adjusted. Somebody in some conference, 6 years ago, 10 years ago said, well, it's a profit center for these people that are shipping into you. So you need to control your own freight, right? It also used to be a different person when you're dealing with some of the larger companies, right? Mm-hmm. In some particular cases, if you're talking to an outbound guy, you're talking to a shipping manager, a transportation manager, logistics manager. In other cases, if you're trying to get their inbound, now you're talking to like a procurement guy or somebody that handles buying, right? Purchasing, stuff like that, mm-hmm. right? So it used to be, and it still kind of is, very separated. It's a separated side of things, right? So you got to take that into consideration. Are you talking to the right person? But also, do they control their inbound? Because inbound is an interesting conversation. Hey, do you control your inbound? Oh, you do? Or do you buy your own stuff with freight added on or not? Right? And in some particular cases, they negotiate that purchase with freight included because it's just easier, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of have to keep that in mind. When you're selling inbound, it's a little bit harder of a sell, right? The other side of it, here's something that got like hot for about 6 minutes and it still kind of is hot, but it's more based on consumer driven functions, is the reverse logistics. Okay. Do you remember, what's that shoe company out of Las Vegas that you could buy shoes from and you could return them free?
Yeah.
Do you remember this whole thing when it came out?
I don't remember the name though.
Right? And so they had this crazy thing, Amazon had this crazy thing where it was like, oh, I can return this for free. Try them on, return them for free. Well, guess what? That cost America billions of dollars in driving that. So now there's reverse logistics guys. Usually they're based in the consumer space because it's not like you're buying a friggin' steel building and asking for it to be returned, right? Mm-hmm. That's normally a pretty definite thing. Right. But in the consumer side of things, you're buying beds. When was the last time you bought a bed and then you're like, hey, I don't like this?
This don't work. Yeah.
This is crazy. You know what they usually will tell you to do?
Keep it.
Throw it in the damn trash. They're like, no, cut it up and send me a picture and we'll give you a return. Yeah. Right? Like,
I got a free bed that way.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. So I mean, the bed companies, your reverse logistics side of things is kind of rough. Can I still become an agent? Do you think there's empty room in this industry? Ben, that's such a great question, and I think it's really driven around your drive, your motivation, and your willingness to learn this industry in a quick manner, right? And so we can get you all the leads in the world. We can show you all this. But if you're not willing to put action and dedication behind it, then no. But if you're willing to do those things, yeah, it's a humongous industry. It's wildly big. I mean, it is over the top big. There's a lady that was one of our first accounts. I should talk to her. I think she was account number 6 or 7. Cool lady, really cool lady. She unfortunately was a widow. Husband died in an accident. And so she was raising her kids on her own. And she brokered grocery store final mile deliveries to consumers.
Mm.
And I'm like, what? What are you doing? And she's like, yeah. She goes, my friend manages this grocery store, and they've got 7 locations. This is all up in New England, right? And they got 7 locations, and I manage getting Sprinter van people to their grocery store. By the way, this was like 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago, right? They were one of our first clients. And no kidding, this is what she brokered. And she'd make like 25, 50 bucks a load. And she loved it, right? And she was into it. So, Ben, I'm telling you, there's so much freight in this industry. There's room for somebody that's aggressive, that's willing to learn, and to add some value. You know what I mean? I think that's half the battle.
Yeah, you know, we say this all the time too. We're not in the point where you call on that first call. You make that first sales call, right? And you're getting a load that day. We're in the mode of, okay, making that first sales call. How am I providing value until I get that first load?
Yeah.
Could be a month, could be 2, could be 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
But how are you providing that value? You know, Will Jenkins hit it on the head too. You got to provide that value, whether it's coming through email or phone call or whatever it may be. But you got to make it just makes you different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes you different from going, you know, here's where the market's at, here's where fuel's at, or, you know, anywhere you can add value versus, hey, you remember me? Hey, I'm in your area this week, right? You know, a lot of those emails are probably getting deleted anyway.
Oh, guarantee
you got to bring the house when it comes to this follow-up process.
And I suppose, Ben, just if you're thinking about jumping into this industry, just understand that it is a harder time than normal for those people that are in it and felt it and feeling it. I mean, you can ask the audience; they'll tell you that it's a little more challenging right now than normal.
Right, and I don't know where you live, Ben, but if you're anywhere where, like us, where we live, there's not a lot of options to go out and shake some hands.
No.
You're going to hammer the phone, but if you live in an area that's pretty big, you know, I would start walking into some doors, handing some cards, flyers.
Still see what happens.
Bring some donuts, burritos, maybe. But
I freaking love
burritos. Add value, just let you know.
I'm not gonna speak. I love burritos. Talk about our carriers for a second and how you can find shippers through the carriers, because I think this is probably one of the more interesting things about our site is that we always keep growth in mind, right? How do we grow? You know, dispatchers, carriers, brokers. How do we grow them? In a sense, and if you're trying to source carriers right now on the load boards, there's a high possibility that you're going to get a double broker call, right? There's also a high possibility of you, on our site anyway, finding a new lead that you may not have known of, right? And so in this particular case, Nate, I'll just have you walk through it.
Yeah, so sorry, I was taking off my filters on this, but something you were saying, but one of the things that you can do with eCarrierCheck is if you are a carrier yourself, like chief freight hauler, or if you're a broker that has a really good relationship with carriers, and maybe you got this one guy trying to find some more work, everyone loves more work, but you can find some matching shippers that essentially match up to them, right? By, you know, where they're running, what type of equipment that carrier has. So you can help your, you know, really just dig into more leads this way. And let's say you also maybe you I can't read this guy's name, Dale Rogers Trucking.
Yeah.
So maybe you utilize Dale Rogers Trucking, and let's say you went on vacation with his family. Well, who do you call? Do you go back to the load boards? You call other carriers like him. So that's what's nice with eCarrierCheck. You can do that. You know, let's go find some of the carriers to Dale Rogers, right? And look, just another list of leads of carriers there. And maybe you want to go see if there's any good leads that match up with them that you can be picking off to be calling.
Yeah. And also we have the ability to export and just, you know, really do what you need to do in our system in order to grab.
Exactly. And we have 3 different ways to search carriers: located near, ones that operate near your location, and then maybe you need to find some carriers that are running a lane.
Yeah.
And some things that we actually added that you guys are looking at here. I actually made a list out of Atlanta that was open deck. So you can actually throw carriers into a list. And let's say you do go look at a list and you're like, okay, well, I need to find out which one of my lists is in this area that I can be calling, so you don't have to put it on the load board. So you can see, here's my list. You know, I'm in Atlanta. Here's my Georgia flatbed list in this area. So these are guys I've talked to on the phone. I know they're good carriers. I'm going to call them up before posting.
Yeah, that's a new feature, and I love this feature. because you can upload your current list into our settings, right?
Right.
And whatever you're doing with MCs, DOTs, you can upload them in here. And that goes for you, like even like cheap freight hauler. It'd be interesting to know as a carrier, how are you, and I would even put this on a goal. Besides getting, your hazmat certificate this month, you got, some time here, but get the hazmat certificate. But I would challenge any carrier that's on here. How do I build a relationship with a new broker every month or a new shipper every month? And that's easier said than done, right? When you're calling shippers as a carrier, it can be really challenging. You don't know if you're going to get a voicemail or what you're doing. So you really need to set up a remind system so that you can remember to call them back when you need to and things like that. But you can get a hold of new brokers. And I'm a big believer in, local brokers usually have local freight. And you can come in and look up brokers on our site. But I think what's unique about it is we can just say, hey, we need to see if they have websites or LinkedIn or Facebook. And so we'll actually pull that information over for you. So they're an active broker. That they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. And you can either A, drive into their yard and say, hey, I'm here. Let's talk about trucking. Or B, give them a call. And most brokers pick up the phone.
Yeah, that's what's nice with eCarrierCheck. You can find those brokers, find those carriers, and find those shippers.
Yep.
It's really great.
Yeah.
And same thing with the brokers too. If you're a carrier, if you need to maybe shoot out some emails, the brokers in your area, you can select all these guys and take out their emails, and maybe you're at a stop at the truck stop getting some fuel. Send out an email out to these guys. Let them know where you're from, maybe connect with them.
Yeah.
You can do it pretty quickly. Export the emails and where you go. Same thing with carriers. You got a carrier that fell off. Well, you're gonna post it up, or you're gonna maybe make some outbound calls or send some emails.
Yeah.
Maybe if it's something that needs picked up today, you're probably posting, but to each their own.
Yeah.
If you had a good relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. We're halfway through the month,
Mm-hmm.
and if you haven't looked at the first 15 days of this month, and said, okay, how can I better my business, or where's the biggest risk in my business? I think it's really important to take the time to do this every month, halfway through the month and at the end of the month. But take just a couple minutes to go, how do I build new relationships with people that can impact my business?
Mm-hmm.
And how can I impact their business, right? And keeping that mentality in mind of, okay, I'm gonna go build some new relationships, but let me make sure that they're good for me and it's good for them too.
Right. Yeah, reflecting on your business is huge. Whether it's relationship, whether it's cost, spending.
Yeah.
That's what's nice with eCarrierCheck. You could find your first customer, move the load, and it's covered, right?
Yep.
And the nice thing about our tech is you get access to us.
Yeah.
We're down to, we just had a call this morning before the show, right,
Yep.
Jared? So we're down to meet with you, show you the site, listen to your cold calls, look at your emails. I don't know any other tech company doing that. They got you on hold for an hour just trying to take a user off.
I've been there.
Right.
I love it. Nate, I love what we brought today. Hopefully we brought some value for you guys today. Have an incredible weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for being on. Thank you for subscribing to our show. Make sure you hit the bell, like, subscribe, all those random things.
Hit us up.
And hit us up. Let us know how we can help you make your business better. So.
We're everywhere. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Insta, TikTok. Just hit us up. Let us know, guys. Thanks again.